All right, good morning, everybody. It's me, Charlie Mack. So, this is the third part of my brisket series. So, in our first video, we learned about how to pick a brisket, how to trim the brisket, and then how to season it. Then, in the second video, we actually went through the cooking process. And so, here's our brisket right here. There we go. And so this has been resting all night long. So I started cooking it yesterday morning, and it was around maybe 10 o'clock, and then I finished it off around 11 p.m. So that was around at least a 13-hour cook. So notice that it's been resting for a really long time. I want to talk about that for a second. So when I learned how to cook brisket, one thing that I always run into was that it was just never tender enough, and I'd see everybody with these tender briskets falling apart and all that, and I'm like, why isn't mine coming out that way? And one of the reasons why is because I don't think I ever let my brisket rest for longer than an hour. And you gotta think, this thing is a huge piece of meat and it's hot, right? And so if you slice into it while it's still hot and you don't give it a chance to relax, then it's never gonna be tough. It's never gonna be tender, it's gonna be tough, right? So I started letting my briskets rest, and that was a game changer for me, because all of that fat, all those little pieces of fat that might make your bite chewy, those melt overnight, or whenever, or however long you rest it. They melt because the brisket's still hot, and so they just melt and just fall apart. And so then that's what really helps your brisket become moist and tender, right? So in this video, I want to really emphasize that. Make sure that you allow your brisket to rest for at least 4 hours, in my opinion. I know there's other people that, they can let it rest for less or whatever. Everybody's got their own different style. What I want to do is make sure that I show you what works for me, right? And so for me, I think the longer that I let the brisket rest, the better, right? Okay. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and unwrap the brisket, and we're gonna slice into it. This is my favorite part. All right, so this has been like a 2-day process between trimming it, seasoning it, cooking it, and now we're finally getting to eat it 2 days later, right? So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and unwrap with towels. So let's see. Well, one thing, it smells amazing, and if you can see, it's still wrapped, so I never unwrap it, and I think that's important because that's going to seal in all that moisture. It's like unwrapping a gift on Christmas, right? It's going to be good. It smells amazing. So I tried to do this as close to the way that I normally do it as possible. So I'm gonna get some scissors. Man, you just smell all those wonderful smells coming from the brisket. You smell the smoke. I used post oak, so that was something that was new for me, but I really like it. The smell smells very authentic, I guess you could say. Mesquite is really, really strong, and so this is not as strong as mesquite, which is cool. All right, so now you see that beauty inside? There's our brisket and what it looks like, okay? So now I'm gonna transfer this from here to the cutting board, okay? Now, normally you see people wearing gloves and all that fancy stuff. Dude, I'm in my house, ain't nobody gonna be eating this except for myself, friends, and family. So, yeah. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and transfer this over. So let me grab it. All right. Bring it over. Boom. And then we still got all those juices, right? So we will keep those juices for a little bit later. All right, so here's our brisket. So we are ready to go ahead and slice into it. So there's two parts to a brisket. This part right here is the flat, the leaner part. And then this part right here, this is going to be the point, which is the more marbled part. Okay, so what I'm gonna do actually is I'm gonna go up right about here and cut it in half. Boom. All right. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and start slicing. Well, first, you know what? Let's look inside. Boom. Look how juicy that is. So juicy, so tender. Got a nice smoke ring on it. Ah, it's a pretty brisket. All right, so now we're gonna keep the point right here, and we're gonna go ahead and slice into the flat. So I'm gonna go ahead and slice in. Feels nice and tender. That's what we want. Smells great. It's got a nice bark on the outside. That bark, that's that outside color. We achieve that with our smoking. So then when you slice in on the inside, it's nice and tender. I'm slicing these in what we call little pencil or normal size pencil slices. That's about the thickness that I'm going with this. All right, so we'll leave that the way it is. So let's check out what we got. Pretty, pretty, pretty. Dripping, juicy, tender. And then the way that we tell that it's tender, well, you can see it's falling apart right here, but the fold test or whatever. So it's definitely tender. If I were to take a piece right here, it just falls right apart. Boom, boom, and boom. Let's taste it. Mmm. That's good stuff. Okay. That's really good. Let me wash my hands. Okay. So we sliced up the point. I'm sorry, the flat. So now when we slice up the point, we're actually gonna rotate it. Okay, just like this. We're gonna rotate it like that, and then we're gonna start slicing. The reason why is because we wanna slice against the grain, and that's gonna help keep our bites tender. Now when I'm slicing here, this is gonna be more of a big pencil. Thickness. So think like the size of that pencil that you'd get in kindergarten, or like those Scholastic Book Fair pencil sizes. It's good stuff. So look how thick I'm slicing. Super, super thick. Just a thick, juicy bite. It's gonna be amazing. Okay, now I've sliced up my point. Now there's one last part that I like to do. So these parts right here, these parts at the end, I call these burn ends. Okay, so let me show you the burn ends. So the burn ends are these really charred pieces at the very end of the brisket. Almost look like, you know, like there's like a diamond inside, because this part has been hitting the fire the most. But on the other side, it's nice and tender on the inside. Look at the other side. So what I like to do with the burn ends, I'm gonna turn it around here, is I'm gonna go ahead and slice these burn ends. So I'm gonna lay them flat like this, and I'm just gonna slice them into little pieces. Not pieces, but cubes almost. And you can just eat those right by itself. Slice those up. And what I like to do with those is I actually like to make taco with the burn-in. A burn-in taco, and it's amazing. Boom. And that's it, guys. So let me go ahead and I'm gonna turn this and show you so you can see it. But that is my finished brisket. This is post oak, and it is about a 13-hour cook with an all-night rest. All right, guys, so that's the end of my first brisket series. I hope that this video or these videos helped you learn something new and make you want to try smoking a brisket. So let's go ahead and take a look at the finished product. Gorgeous, beautiful, nice and tender. And let's see how it tastes. So this is one of the burn ends. We'll see. 1, 2, 3. That's good. It's definitely tender. Got good flavor on the outside. Good bark. Good smoke. That's great. You know what I'm saying? So, hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.